Hi, you're listening to the Fresh Start Podcast with Marcia and Stacy. This is episode number 2. Well, welcome everyone to episode 2 of the Fresh Start Podcast. I'm Marcia, and we have some special guests here today. But first, I want to say hey to Stacy. I just spent the weekend with her, so I feel extra close to you, Stacy. Hi.
I know. Hi. It's good to see you guys again so soon.
I know that our guests here today were also with us over the weekend, and we're going to talk a little bit about our weekend together. But first, I want to introduce, if anyone listens to the God of My Girlfriends podcast, you listeners are familiar with Amie because she's been on as a special guest girlfriend several times. So welcome, Amie.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Great to see you guys after such a long time.
And we also have our friend Jenny Hoeft. Jen was also at the retreat. She's also been on the God of My Girlfriends podcast. She was a guest talking about human design, which she is what would you say? You're a teacher or an expert, or what do you?
An analyst, like a certified analyst.
An analyst of human design, right. But she also teaches yoga, which she led us in the retreat, which was amazing. And so we were talking about fresh starts and how we literally had a little fresh start to the year together as some girlfriends on this retreat up in Pinole Ridge. It's a retreat center just outside of Nashville. And I think there was 12 of us ladies. And I actually told Jen the thing that really sparked my brain to talk about it on this podcast was something that she said at the very end of the retreat when we were all kind of saying our last few words. And Jen, would you just tell our listeners what you said?
Well, I just admitted, I think we were all so vulnerable at that time, but I just admitted that I'm not a retreat type person. I don't like sitting around with a bunch of girls hashing it out or sussing. I just felt resistance about going to a retreat. And I've always done that, like Girl Scout camping, all that. I'm like, oh, no. And to find that at the end, after 2.5 days, really, I was different. I was more tender, more real, more connected, more friends, more alive. I wouldn't say rested.
Yeah.
But I was all those other things.
Well, you were busy all weekend. You were leading. Everyone wanted their human design charts done, so you were running around doing that. You taught yoga twice. You were a busy girl. But I had 2 different people say the exact same thing. They said, "I just can't even imagine the retreat without Jen being here," which I thought was so sweet. But same with me. I'm not a retreat girl. Like, okay, a bunch of women out in the woods for the weekend. I'm not sure, but opening yourself up to new experiences is how we learn new things, I think, in life. Don't y'all?
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
And Amie, what did you expect from the retreat? Are you a retreat girl? Were you ready to go?
No, I was ready to go. Like when I saw the thing come up on your Instagram feed, I thought to myself, yeah, I kind of want to do that. I'm going through some stuff, and I have a feeling that this year might be a little bit more difficult than others. And I just thought, oh, maybe that would be a good thing to start the year out with. And I had zero expectations. I just had this feeling like whatever was meant to be was going to come my way. If I got there and I felt tired and I had to sleep every day, all day, I was going to allow my body to do that. I did know that you guys were going to do yoga, so I was definitely open to doing that, but I had no expectations, and I just thought whatever happens. And it was really nice.
Oh, I'm so glad that you came all the way from Canada.
Yeah, all the way. That 2-hour flight was exhausting.
Oh, well, it does seem like it's farther. It was probably just as far for you to come from Florida, right, Stacy?
Yeah, I think I flew far. I think it was longer for me than Amie.
That's an 11-hour drive. So I was contemplating driving. I was glad that I flew more for the flight back. The drive there probably would have been fine, but I was grateful just to sit on an airplane for 2 hours instead of having to drive, you know, 11 hours back.
But you know what I love about what Amie said? I love that she said, you know, I saw it come up and she had a response to it. She had an intuition and a little light that flickered that had her lean in. It just sounded like she listened to her guidance system that's we all have, and you went with it. So whether you're a retreat person or not, if you notice that you're leaning in, I say follow your lean in.
I like that.
That's beautiful. I like that too.
Yeah, with anything, right? If you find something that pops up in your line of vision and it seems interesting, don't just discount it. Like, oh no, that's, especially I find that things that I'm meant to do tend to just keep popping up. It's like the universe or God or whatever just keeps putting it in front of me until I pay attention, and go, oh, well, maybe this is something I'm supposed to check out. And maybe this is a place I need to be.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Because I think, Marcia, you guys were resistant to even do a retreat.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. Like I said, I'm like you. I'm not a retreat person. I've been to one in my life. So the fact that I was now in charge of planning a retreat was just, it just made me giggle every day. I'm like, okay. But somebody, it may have been Stacy, that said, the fact that you didn't really have a preconceived idea about what a retreat should be is probably good, because I just sort of planned something that I would want to go to. I'm thinking, okay, I'm just gonna, what do I need? I sort of like selfishly thought, okay, because the retreat was called Reflect, Reconnect, and Renew. And so we took some time reflecting on the year prior, and then we took some time talking about ways we could reconnect with God and with each other and with ourselves, which is what was really cool about you bringing in human design, because it helped. I think that was a great tool for everyone to start reconnecting with themselves, and then we tried to do things to help renew us for the year that was coming up. And I thought that I need those things, and so I just sort of planned something that I thought I needed, and I think it was a lesson for me, even like with my songwriting or whatever. Like if I write a song that means something to me, well, maybe it'll mean something to someone else. So, I was hesitant. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to plan something I don't even normally go to? But Ramona we had our friend Ramona. She was the rock star. She's done several retreats. And if she had not come along and said, hey, I'll help plan it, it wouldn't have happened. So Ramona, I know you're probably listening because she listens to all the podcasts. We love you, Ramona.
You did amazing.
Yes, girl.
Yeah, she was amazing. What about you, Stacy? What did you take away from the retreat?
So much. I think what is sticking with me as of this point is just how we all have really different backgrounds, and we kind of brought very distinct offerings into the mix. And there was so much synergy in that. As I was starting to meet different people, I wasn't, it kind of unfolded. It wasn't from the outset something that was clearly defined and we were going to go and, have this kind of an experience. But just sort of unfolded for us, and everyone was just so open and sharing, and then pieces started coming together. And I loved that our days weren't filled because there was enough room for us to connect and explore. And what I found in some of the unique things that we did there is that I got really consistent messages that I'm taking away. And so it was really powerful. And of course, to state the obvious, Amie and I have known each other for years, but have never met in person. So that was super cool. And Jen and I have, connected over the podcast, and it was great to meet her in person. So I think it just shows us that we have this wonderful technology and capability to meet virtually. And it's just so wonderful to actually meet in person as well.
I know. I loved that about it too. There were a lot of friends that some people knew each other. Some people had known each other, like you said, virtually, but had never met in person. Some walked in, like Gail. She didn't know anybody. I mean, bless her heart, she felt the nudge too. She saw it and she thought, I think I need this. And yeah, we had all ages, all different sorts of spiritual backgrounds. I loved that everyone really gave everyone space to bring their beliefs into the weekend with no judgment, with curiosity. We were able to, everyone was so vulnerable. They were willing to be vulnerable. And, Jen and I were talking the other day too about she and I both being musicians. We've been around a lot of male energy. We've been on tour buses with all guys and grew up playing in bands with guys. And so I think in my past I have struggled to connect with women. But what I'm finding is that there are some really amazing women that are willing to help heal one another. I mean, I felt there was a lot of healing over the weekend and some empowerment, in some people and some freedom. And that's what I think community done in the right way can do. Yeah, so I loved the fact that this new cool little community blossomed and everyone wanted to stay in touch. And yeah, it was a really, really cool group of women. I think the ones that were supposed to be there were there. So, Amie, what was your favorite part of the weekend?
When you were saying that, something was coming. I'm not going to mention names, but there was, I was going to go out for a little walk by myself. And not specifically because I wanted to go by myself. It was just like an inclination. I think we were just done, some sitting, and everyone was, I think, Stacy, you were with Jen, doing your human design chart or something. And I thought, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to go for a little walk. And one of the other ladies who was there said to me, oh, are you going to do the ridge walk? And I said, no, I think it's too late to do the ridge walk. And I said, I was just going to do the smaller one. And so she joined me. And there's something that not every once in a while, I'd say every couple of days, if I'm out and about in a lot of people, I think to myself, there's so many people in the world. And each of these people have their own life and their own stuff going on and their own personality. And it's really fascinating to me. And I think I'll maybe never see these people again. And so I went for a walk with her. And as we were walking, I said to her, and we were connecting, like really connecting. She was talking about her life. I was listening. I was also talking about my life. And I said to her, like, what are the chances that you and I would ever meet?
Right.
We would never meet each other. We would never have this moment. She was just, I didn't even know she existed last week at all. And it just struck me. And I was so grateful for that in that moment. Honestly, I just felt, I'm a worshiper or a believer in God. And so in that moment, I really felt a sense of gratitude to her for existing, for me, for being there, and for this powerful connection that we were exchanging in that moment. And it just struck me how random yet purposeful and amazing that moment was. And that's the thing I really took away probably the most, is just that I was thankful for each individual person that was there. The chances of me meeting them were so slim, yet I felt that there was a powerful connection. And you guys were all there when I had a bit of a breakdown. Not to scare people who might be afraid of emotions from ever going into a retreat, but I had a bit of a breakdown at one point, and it was a breakthrough at the same time, because
Mm.
the community that came around me, it was just an emotional release that had to happen
Mm.
around a point of connection that I, it had to do with the sacrament and my trauma around that sort of thing. And
Mm.
to be with you all and to be led in that by someone who meant the sacrament, I think, in the way that it was intended to be.
Mhm.
And then to feel that release of emotions and connection, it was really beautiful.
Oh, I love that. That was a beautiful moment. And we weren't even planning on taking communion. That's one of the things that was so cool about the weekend, is that everyone there brought their gifts. And
Mm-hmm.
we had a girl that was a Methodist reverend. And on Sunday morning, she said, "Would you like me to serve communion?" And I was like, "Sure, I think that would be lovely." Hadn't even thought about it. And we didn't have any wine, but we had some pomegranate juice. And she put 3 little grapes in the pomegranate. She found some grapes and she put those in the bottom to represent the Trinity in the juice. And we had some bread that someone had brought that she used, and we made do. And it was just a beautiful, powerful thing that we didn't even plan. And that's what I loved about. There were a lot of unplanned, beautiful moments, and I was really grateful for that.
I've been also listening to the Cherokee, the song that she taught us.
Oh yeah.
Found it on Spotify, so I've been listening to it in the morning, which is beautiful.
We'll have to put that in the notes.
Yeah, she taught us this beautiful Cherokee song, and we were all singing that a few times, and it just was so awesome just to hear. Everyone was, not everyone's a singer, but everyone was singing, and it just sounded beautiful. It was great. It was so fun.
That's well said. That's what you bring to the table, Marcia, is this sort of this innocence of welcoming inclusion and diversity and wisdom. It's this, not everyone's a singer, but everyone was singing. Yeah, you're just such a natural about your desire to be connected and authentic.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Thank
really
you.
created a beautiful space.
Thank
You and
you.
Ramona both created such a beautiful space, and you didn't overfill it. You just let everyone fill it. The space was filled in marvelous ways.
Yeah, I think I learned. Everyone taught. I think everyone was teaching one another. Everyone
Mhm.
was receiving. Everyone was receptive. We were in our yoga pants or sweatpants all weekend. We weren't wearing makeup. We just brought ourselves as
No
we are.
bras.
No
No, just
bras.
kidding. I'm speaking for
Well,
myself.
some of us were in bras and some of us weren't other, but but no judgment. But it was just so funny. And there was this one moment we were all eating something, and I don't know who was at the table. I think Stacy and Amie, and I hear them all singing "Muskrat Love" down there. I don't know.
With
We all,
Stacy.
are you the culprit?
I am.
Yeah.
Was it Autumn that didn't know the song or something? So y'all were teaching it to her.
Yes, I pulled it up on Spotify, and that was all she wrote. Like that became a theme song of sorts.
It did, Muskrat, and then so we were all calling ourselves the Muskrats or Muskrat Hoes. But then Ramona sent this beautiful Indian kind of fable or story about this little muskrat, and I won't say it right, but it basically talked about how the earth had flooded. It was all water, and there were only birds and water animals, but they needed to replenish the earth with soil, and they knew it was at the bottom of the ocean, and all these water animals were going to the bottom of the ocean, and no one could get to the soil. They'd come up, and then we can't do it. And this little bitty muskrat says, "I'll do it," and he goes down, and he doesn't come up, and he doesn't come up, and he doesn't come up. I'm gonna cry talking about it. And then he floats up to the surface, and he's not alive, but in his little claws, he's holding soil.
Oh my gosh.
And they were able to take the soil and start the land again. And it was like he he gave it all. I mean, he was like, I'm going to help. And I just feel like that we all are little soil diggers. We are going to do what we can. That's what I saw in this room, is like everyone wants to do what they can to help replenish one another, you know, and heal one another and be lights and loves to the world, and letting everyone do it in their own way. You know, that is one thing about when I started God and My Girlfriends. I wanted it to be a very inclusive community of women that could learn from each other. I mean, we talked, the tagline for this podcast is, you know, when you know it's time to be curious and think differently and maybe hit reset on different things that we have decided in our brain is, you know, black and white. I like this, I don't like this, or I believe this, I don't believe this, or this is right or this is wrong. And it's like you were saying, Amie, there are millions of people in the world with all different experiences that have created their opinions and their loves and their beliefs and their spirituality. And I think sometimes we can get in ruts in our own little head, in our own little world. And so opening ourselves up to new ideas, new adventures, new people, I think that is just such an amazing thing, and the power of community.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, girl.
Mm-hmm. That is so one thing that I also thought during the thing. And I think I mentioned it to Stacy afterwards, that I walked away. You know, I always have hope for humanity. I just, sometimes I see all this stuff going on and I think people just go home and eat dinner with your family or have some, you know, sit with why are we fighting all the time? And why are we always grabbing for more and more and more? And I get it. Some people have a drive for certain things that other people don't. But being within that community, everybody very similar and yet very different. And we just enjoyed each other. And that's the feeling that I walked away with, was this hope for humanity.
Yeah. I love that so much.
Love that too. And that we all are individual specks of sand or drops of the ocean, but we have way more in common than we don't have in common. Sort of recognize our own shadows and our own wounds, but we see it in our neighbors too, that we get to hear maybe it from a different side and a different part of the healing from someone else, and then you're not alone. You're not alone. Now you have a village and a tribe and stories and other people's stories that are soothing, very soothing. It's a healing for sure.
Yeah. We all need to be soothed. The world is crazy right now.
The world is crazy.
And it's so divided. And I think the only way that we can come together and start bridging that gap of division between people that see the world differently or think differently is to be able to listen a little bit better. Listen to people's stories. Listen.
Yeah.
And when you hear someone's story, you go, okay. I see now. Like, you may not agree with their conclusion, but you can find some empathy for that person and their beliefs and why they believe that. Don't you think?
I hadn't thought about it that way.
Right.
But yeah. You know, we're in human design, we're in the gate of empathy right now.
We are.
Until tomorrow. For 5 days. It's like you nailed it, Marsha.
Really? Do we lose our empathy tomorrow?
No, it's an archetype that kind of clicks through these 64 archetypes over the year. And for the last 5 days, it's been the archetype of the listener, fellowship of man or woman. And the highest aspect of that is listening and empathy.
Interesting.
Yep, right on time.
And for those of you that are listening that don't know anything about human design, go to the God of My Girlfriends podcast. And I think it was last season. Was it last season that Jen was on?
Mhm.
And we have a whole episode about it. And we'll also put a link in our show notes here for Jen's thing. Just people are probably listening. They're going, what is
Yeah.
it? It's interesting, you know? And we talked about enneagram stuff too, which is another, we were talking about reconnecting with ourselves. It's these tools that can help us understand ourselves, give ourselves some grace and understanding and go, oh, that's
Yeah.
why I am the way I am. But then you can also take that and go, but I can be a better version, right?
That's that part of connection. We have to be open and self-aware, be able to see our patterns, and be able to listen to feedback. That was one thing that happened throughout the weekend is we were all asking for more information. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Help me see this differently, or what's your insight on this, or just lots of great open-ended questions. And that's really what fosters connection. I think as, everyone decides if they're going to go to a retreat or workshop or whatever it is, that's really the first thing is, am I going? Am I in the posture to receive? And am I going to step into that space ready to learn something new? To expect that we will be enlightened in some way. And I know that I was pleasantly surprised. I just walked away with all kinds of just interesting insight, things that connect together for me. And it's because everyone shared and everyone offered connection. So thank you guys for that.
Yeah, Stacy, you have some good stuff too, girl. Didn't she? She was on fire.
And Ramona, she was bringing all her little Catholic rituals in, which was so beautiful. I mean, and everyone, you might not have been Catholic, but I think we all appreciated, all what she brought to the table with that, and and Autumn with her tarot cards.
Yeah.
I used to think that was, oh no, and she was amazing. She was absolutely precious, and it was a cool thing to add. And like Stacy, you were saying with your human design thing with Jen, and then your reading with Autumn, and then I think you had a prophetic ministry with Ramona too, and they all lined up. And
They all lined up.
So
It's
cool.
just really interesting. And yeah, it's I don't know what to say. I'm still processing it all, but I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude.
And we got lucky with the weather because in Nashville, Tennessee, planning a retreat for the last weekend of January is, you're putting your hopes in the Lord right there. Like, you need to know, please don't send us an ice storm. But it was so cool. Like, not even was it nice in Nashville, but people were flying from all over, from Colorado, from Canada, from Florida, from different places, and no one had any flight issues. We all got there. I mean, it just felt so. It just felt like alignment. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
It was amazing. You know what? Can I add one thing? One more thing. It just really made me, the divine feminine was there. Divine feminine is the listener, is the receiver. And so the kindness that was available in that room about just taking care of each other and asking questions. And there was so much kindness, which is divine feminine. It's receiving and versus doing and naming and, I'm not judging men and women. Men
Yeah.
have both, but the amount of love and kindness that was
Yeah.
there was profound.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
agree.
Yeah. I think we all felt that. We all felt just changed. And it was amazing because it like happened like right from the start. Like you sometimes expect like some awkwardness, but it felt like everyone just like went, like we all knew each other. Like we were all, our spirits were all, like knew each other somewhere else. And we all just kind of showed up. And I don't know, that sounds woo
They
woo, I
do,
guess.
though. I believe that they do. So I think
Maybe
we just
so.
embodied it and practiced it.
Maybe so. Well, I hope that this, if you're listening, I hope that this encourages you a little bit to not necessarily sign up for a retreat, but just be open to new experiences this year. Think about things that, start watching what comes in your orbit and see if something might be trying to tell you to try something new. And yeah, if you're interested in joining us on another retreat, I think we are definitely going to have some more because we enjoyed it so much. So we will put a link in the show notes to the God and My Girlfriend's Ministries retreat thing so you can sign up. So anyway, that was great. Anyone else have any last minute things to say before we?
Well, I have my prompts for today.
Oh, you have prompts. That's right. Stacy always has some prompts. What are our prompts for today, Stace?
I have prompts. My prompt is, how can we leverage diverse perspectives to shift our approach or our outlook? So I picked that because, we went to this retreat and we invited in multiple perspectives. So we're doing this in thinking, feeling, and doing.
Okay.
So here's the thinking. Analyze the key ideas you've encountered and consider their potential impact on your work and on your life. Feeling, take a moment to tune into your emotional response to these new insights. What excites or challenges you? And doing is select one concept or method to deliberately incorporate into your daily routine this week.
Ooh, I like those.
Good job.
Mm-hmm.
We did it. Does doing this podcast count?
Yeah. That's right.
Not a community with women. Is that
I
count?
think it does. I think it does.
Okay, good.
You
Oh.
bought a motorcycle or something. I think that
She is,
counts.
are we
I
live?
saw that.
She's a motorcycle mama, but
Oh my gosh. I
she
admire
said
you
she's
so
been
much.
she's been riding motorcycle, but she just got a bigger one, right?
I
Got a,
did. I upgraded. Yeah, I upgraded.
Oh, good for
I
you.
know. There was so many comments. Everyone was like, wear a helmet. Look both ways. Oh,
As
She
if
know-
you're not going to.
yeah. Like you're not going to wear a helmet. I know. I remember one time there was an eclipse in Nashville, and my husband, to be funny, posted himself. He said, "Ready for the eclipse," and he was staring through binoculars at it.
Oh.
And everyone was like, "Don't do that." Like he's like, "I know. I'm just." They were like, You're not supposed to look through binoculars." They were so concerned. Oh well. Well, thank you, girls. Amie, Jen. Thanks for joining us today. We really
My
appreciate you. Love you. And hopefully we will talk very soon.
to be continued. You
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the podcast today. We'll be on in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, don't be afraid of some fresh starts.
That's
Bye.
right.
Bye.
Bye.